Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to make a pair of simple earrings using the latest bargain bead box kit. Now I'm not going to bother showing you what's all in this because I'm sure you've seen a couple of unboxings already. It's mostly mookaite, which is a stone I haven't used a lot in the past, but it is really quite pretty. So let's turn down and I'll show you what we're going to use out of this kit. Okay, what I have gotten is, well, these are eye pins. These are from my stash. They weren't included in the bargain bead box this month. And neither were these bead caps, which I'm also going to use. Then I have some of the 6mm. I think they're 6mm. Let me check. Yep, they're 6mm. Okay, so we're going to use some of this 6mm mookaite rounds. We have 5 for each earring, and then 1 for the top of the bead cap. Then some of the little crystal eye cones, 5 on each, and 5 of the little spacer beads. The other thing we have are 2 of the little charms with the leaf imprinted on it, and 3 of the little leaf charms, or feathers, I should say. Sorry, they're not leaves, they're feathers. So this is what we're going to need, as well as some little lengths of chain. So what we want to do is open our well, that wanted to turn a little bit more than we wanted it to. Put the charms on the eye pins. Come on, baby. Sure it's closed. It is pretty much so, but let's get a little over to that side. Okay. Then what we're going to do is put on one of the mookaite beads, one of the spacers, and one of the little crystal bicones. You see how that's going to look? And then once we do that, we're going to wire wrap it onto a piece of chain. So let's get all of these done. Once we get this done, the next step we're going to have to do is decide on the length of chain we want to use and get all the pieces cut. Okay, now that we've got all of our little beaded pieces put together here, we need to decide how long we want the chains to be, and how long do we want it to be varying lengths or just all the same length. I was thinking I'd make them varying lengths, but the more I play with it, the more I think that all one length might just be fine. Well, let's start cutting chain and we can make that decision. So I'm thinking we don't want them to be any more than, oh, like an inch. So we'll go with maybe 8 links and cut on the 9th. So let's get some cutters out and we'll start cutting chain. Okay, we need 10 pieces. Now I think that's the 5 pieces for that side. Let's check that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we need 5 for the other side. All right, now that we've got all of our chain pieces cut, we will put all these little scraps away, put our chain away, and then we're going to start wire wrapping our little pieces onto the chain. I'm going to wire wrap these little guys, and we'll just grab a piece of chain and wire wrap them right directly to the chain. Oops. I like to get the bend around in there first. Put your round nose, come around, drop it down, bring it over. Now once you've brought it over, instead of wrapping, put your chain in. And once your chain is in, then hold this right here across where your wires meet, and then just wrap it around. And then we'll cut that extra wire off. Being careful not to cut anything extra. Tuck this in. When you tuck this, be very careful because, of course, your top bead is glass and you don't want to break it. So then we have one of these done. I'll do a couple more on camera, and then I'm going to take it and turn it off and do the rest off camera because I don't think you need to see me do this 10 times. I could be wrong. Maybe you want to see me do it 10 times, but over, flip your pliers, bring her down and around and over. Take the pliers out, put the chain in, pull it through there, hold, wrap. Carefully cut your extra wire off and then tuck that little tail in. Uh-oh, my little tail decided it wanted to go up, which we don't want it to do, so we're going to have to bring it back down here. There we go. Got her now. So there's number 2. So we just take our pliers, put it in a ways, bend her over, put your round nose in. Now if you want the smaller the loop you want, you put it down here, bigger up here. Or I sometimes, when I want a really consistent loop, I will use my smallest bell making plier. But with these, I'm not caring that much. So let it wrap, bring it around, take these out, put in the chain. Oop, no droppy. Pull the chain into the loop. Sometimes this will go in very easily, and sometimes it will fight you. If it does start to fight you, you'll need to open your loop up, not by opening it up by spreading it, but by opening up side to side so that it makes the gap larger, and then slip your chain in and bring it back together tighter. Now you can wrap these with your hand like I've just been doing, or with your pliers, especially if it's a stiffer wire. Sometimes it's easier to do the wraps with your pliers as opposed to with your fingers. These little pins are a little bit thin, so I'm not too worried about doing it by finger. It's working just fine. But if they're stiffer and they don't want to bend easily for you or go into place where you want them at, then just get out a second pair of pliers and do it that way. Now see, this one's being a little stubborn, so I'm going to show you what I meant about opening it. See how it's really close to each other right there? Push it this way just a hair till you see a little gap start to show up. Then push your chain back in there. Ooh, I thought I might have broken the bead, but I hadn't, thankfully. This doesn't want to tuck very well, though. So I may just have to cut a little more wire off, but I think I can get it in there. There it goes. Okay, one more for this side. Again, bend the wire over, take your round nose, wrap it around, drop it, bring it back over, pull them out, slide your chain on, hold the loop, and wrap the wire. one doesn't want to wrap quite right. So let's see what we're going on here. Okay, the loops slid down, so we want to push them back up. And when I push things back up, I usually use my fingernails. It racks out your fingernails if you do that. So that's a warning. If you have a problem and you want to use your fingernails to fix it, be aware your fingernail is probably going to get a little bit abused, so to speak. Okay. All right. Now we have our 5 charms on this side. So what we need to do is put these on a jump ring and then another eye pin from the jump ring to come up. So let's get a jump ring out. Oop, well, two came out, and that's exactly what we need, isn't it? So we'll need 2 pair of pliers to open up the jump ring. I'm using an oval jump ring. I prefer them because their opening is in the side, so the weight goes to the thinner sides, and the opening is on the larger side, and you don't have to worry about them trying to escape as much. And there we have what the dangles are going to look like. So now we'll close this back up. And then we'll get a piece of wire and we will feed them up into this bead cap. And then these little wired pieces will hang down, or chained pieces I should say, and make a nice little dangly sort of a chain and charm tassel underneath the bead cap. Okay, so I've cut a couple of pieces of 18 gauge German style wire. When I take these out of the package, I always put the gauge thing, wrap it around it and tape it on so that I know exactly what it is without having to try and figure it out. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to make a loop on the bottom of the wire. Let's see how much I cut. I don't need this much, by the way. This is more than we need. You could probably get away with just probably 3 inches. I just like to cut a little extra so I have room to work with. And so let's get these. Now, in this instance, you can do a wrapped loop or a simple loop. It's not going to be seen. It's going to be up inside. So it's not really much of an issue. The only thing is that, of course, your loop is going to go through your hole. So the wrapped loop, of course, is going to be a little longer, and the chains will hang down out a little bit more. So I am going to make a wrapped loop, but I'm only going to put maybe 2 wraps on it. And this is where I said I use my bell making pliers for these. I'm going to wrap that around, bring it the rest of the way. Oh, it wants to be difficult on me. There we go. And I wrapped it too much there. So bring it back a little bit. So there's my loop. Again, we're going to hold it here. And in this instance, I am going to swing on these. I actually could have just hooked them on when I did the chains originally, but I did not. So rather than reopen the jump ring, I'm going to place it on just like I did the chain onto the. And here's one of those instances again where you're going to need to open your wrap up just a little bit so that it will go there, your ring will go through that slot. Guess I didn't open it enough. More, baby. There we go. I'll wrap this on here. And this is one of those instances I'm going to use another pair of pliers to wrap this because this is 18 gauge, so it's definitely a lot stiffer. So there are all the wraps I'm going to do. I'm only going to do 2 because I don't want it to sink down too far into the bead cap. Tuck our tail. And then it's going to go up through the bead cap, and we're going to pull it in so that all of our chains are inside. Now, because this is a wrapped loop, and I do have an oval jump ring, and it's relatively good sized, it's not that far up in the cap, as you can see, but it's up enough because it's covered. So now we're going to put on another kite, and then we're going to wrap the top. Flip your pliers, bring it around, and even it out so it's circular. There we go. And at this point, you could put your ear wire on just like you have been doing everything else. Okay, I've got some ear wires out. And now instead of opening them up, I am just going to slide it on, just like I did the beads and everything else. But it doesn't want to go over this, so we got to open it just a hair's breadth to slide the ear wire around. Now we bring it back together, hold it. I prefer to hold this in my left hand as my right hand is my dominant hand, and I find it easier to wrap and such from this hand. So now we're just going to make our wraps. See if we've got enough there. Not much room left, so we will bring it the rest of the way to the back here and trim it off. Now in this instance I use these pliers to cut the wire because this is 18 gauge, heavier, and I've already damaged these cutters. See the divots I have in here? That's from cutting steel wire. Don't use your good pliers to cut steel wire. It doesn't have a happy outcome. And tuck it in. And this earring is finished. Now, it could have been a little shorter with the chains. But in order to get it shorter now, I'm going to have to cut it apart because the jump ring is already up in the bead cap. So I have to make that decision now. Do I want to make it shorter? And if so, like I say, we have to cut apart our earring to do that. And let's see. If I were to just cut 2 more links off, I think I might like it with 2 links and with only 6 links. So before we go with and start this one, I'm going to take a couple of links off each earring, and I am going to take this one apart and make them shorter. Now that is something, if you decide you want to make changes, that you will have to do, is if you've already finished it, is cut it apart. And it would be the first time I've done that. And it wouldn't be the first time I've cut it apart, changed it, and go, oh, you know what? I liked it the original way better. And that's okay, because it's your decision on how you want to make your items. Unless, of course, you're making a custom-made order and somebody has asked you for something specific. And in that case, then only they have to like it. Okay, I've got all these wires cut back down to size, and I am going to do these up, but I'm going to do it off camera because you've already seen me do this one. I don't think you need to see me do the whole of the other one. And I am going to cut this one apart and finish it up. Now, maybe I'll do one or two of these on camera because just to show you again. Put in your chain nose, bend it over, take your round nose, or excuse me, get it to the position you want it, wrap it around, drop it down, wrap it the rest of the way so they're meeting. Say like this. Take your chain, pull it up onto here, snap it in place, get your pliers, grab that little ring and wrap. I usually try to get 4 wraps in. It's not a necessity. 3 would be good. I just like 4 as far as my wraps are concerned. And that one is loose, so let's get that pulled up a little bit tighter. You see this bottom wrap didn't wrap really well. See how it's bagged out there? So we're going to pull that apart a little bit. So we want a nice consistent wrap. I'm afraid I'm a little funny that way. I know some people like messy wraps. I'm not one of them. And in things like this, your pliers are good friends, because you want to have them help you along when you have a little problem like that. Now we'll clip this off and tuck the tail. Okay, one done. And the other 4 just the same way. Take your pliers, turn them over, take your needle, your round nose, in you go, around and about, drop them over, get all the way over here, put your chain in, snap it in place, and yes, it will make a slight snapping sound when it comes across. Now this one spread this a little bit, so we're going to push it down. Okay, and now we want to wrap it. Trim it. Careful not to trim your eye. I've done that before. It's really heartbreaking. You have to start it over again when you do that. Though actually these little pieces are not that hard. It would be that big of a deal to start over if you had to. But, and there's piece 2. So now we're on our last one. Bend. Go around. Drop it down. Bring it the rest of the way around. Take it out. Grab your chain. Slide it onto your chain. Oh, that one went on really easily. Hold the loop. And wrap. That one's sliding, so push it up. And now we're ready to trim this wire, and all of these will be finished putting together. Okay, now that we've got all those done, it is time to put this one together. So we're going to wait until we have our ring made on this one. So we'll straighten up the wire. And we're going to put the bend in it and wrap. Now we want this loop, see? Now we're going to hold it with our regular pliers and grab the other chain nose and wrap it twice. Once and twice. Now we'll trim that off. Where's the other? There we go. And tuck that wire in. And now, while we're going to put this onto the jump ring, as well as all of our little pieces. So open up our jump ring with a side-to-side motion. And then we'll put on our pieces. Now hopefully when I finish this, I'll decide I like these shorter ones better, because you can't put the links back on once you take them off. You'll notice I'm putting on every other one so that the leaves and the others do not come on at the same time, or not very well up against each other. And then we'll put this last one with the ring here on, and then close up our jump ring. Now that we have that closed, here's our pretty dangles up into the bead cap. And yes, I think I like that little bit of shorter length. It's not horribly shorter, but it is shorter, and I think it's better. So on with the bead. Bend. Again, like I said, this is one of those places I like to use my bell making pliers. It makes a nice consistent loop, and you have a little more control over it. Now we're going to put the ear wire on. And I think I already had it spread enough that it should go on up there. Well, maybe not. So pull it up just a hair so that this will go in here. Still doesn't want to. There we go. There we go. Now that that's on, we're going to hold our loop and spin our wire. Here. Hold the loop. And bring our wire around. Now, as you can see, I did have a lot more wire than we needed. However, I don't have enough to redo, but I do have at least an extra inch here. So if I wish to, instead of cutting, I think I had 5 inches here, I only really need 4 when I redo the other earring. And there we go. That one's finished. So since we're going to redo this one, I'm going to get another hunk of wire out, and we're going to cut this one loose and fix it. So I got the 4 inches of wire, and I'm straightening it out here. We're going to make our loop on this side. Actually, we aren't. I'm just going to use these. Now we'll make 2 winds, 1 and 2, and now we'll trim it. And tuck. Now this is the new wire for when we shorten up those little lines. So now what we have to do is we have to cut this one loose. Just carefully get in here between these and snip this closed, open. Oh, did I just snip the... Yep, I got into on why it wasn't cutting right away is because the ear wire slipped into it and it's half cut. Now it's probably still strong enough that it would hold, but at the same time, now that it's got that notch in it, it would hurt when it went into your ear. So we're going to just throw this one away and we'll get a new one. And I'm just going to hold this while I cut 2 links off of each one. Okay, now we will throw all these scraps away, and I'll just get another jump ring to use because I don't want to be opening and closing that too much, as I said. So here's another jump ring. Oops, here's another 3 jump rings. We only need 2. And we'll put this one back together. So we open our jump ring up, put on our little dangles, and then our wire that goes up through the top, and close our jump ring. Okay, so we just put this back through here again, push her down, put our bead on. I like these. Twist her over. Around here, back over to here. Make sure she's nice and rounded, and then we need to get another ear wire since we destroyed the one. Like I say, that's one thing you need to be careful of, and obviously I do it too sometimes. So then we'll put this baby onto here. And like I say, it wasn't cut all the way through, it was only cut partially. But it made it not only a weak spot in the earring wire, but it made a sharp spot in the earring wire. And you wouldn't want to have one of your customers or whoever's going to wear those earrings have that spot in their ear. It would not be comfortable. So grab and wrap. I think we had 3 wraps, and that looks good. So cut this extra wire off, tuck it in. Tuck that wire in. And there we go. Here's our earrings. I hope you like those. Those are a nice pair of dangles. If you're a dangle person, I like them. Sorry, putting away my tools so they're not in the way. And we'll hold those up and we'll show you how they look. So here we go. As you can see, they're pretty much shoulder dusters, even with having taken a couple of links out, but they're still a really cute earring. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.